6 drivers, 6 successful racers, each with a top 3 finish in the heats. These guys are good, but how good? Who will turn out to be the real class of the field? And who has flattered to deceive? In today's short circuits, they'll be sorely tested. And when the racing's over, only 2 will go through. It's semi-finals day! In each short circuits, 6 top slot racers go head-to-head on a scale model tribute to a world-famous racetrack. Welcome to Canada! Timber! No doubt about it. I'm a lumberjack. Want to see my chopper? Yes, that's just the sort of cliched and predictable gag that has made short circuits popular. But it doesn't make it right. Canada has so much more to offer than just logging. They've got beautiful scenery, they've got bears, they've got salmon, they play a lot of ice hockey, they've got mounties, and they've also got a quaint minority who speak nothing but French. Mais oui. Oh yes, and they've also got a fantastic racing circuit. The Circuit Gilles Villeneuve is named after Canada's most famous racing driver. It sits on an artificial island in the middle of the St. Lawrence River, built for Expo 67. And in 1976, its lake was the venue for the Olympic rowing competition. And since then, it's become something of a mecca for water sports. Montreal is a real car killer. A succession of long straights and slow corners exact a heavy toll on brakes and transmissions, and the bumps can catch the drivers out. So, Montreal is no place for the novice. But who will end up the kings of Canada? And who'll be the Canada geese? In short circuit semi-finals, it's every man for himself. Which of our 6 will come through? Yves Lambert, Pete Douay, Daz the Iceman, the man they call Skippy, young Richard Green, and even younger Tom Ude.
A lot of tricky corners. I could see a lot of people coming off. Hopefully it's not me.
It's difficult, the tight bend, but hopefully I'll do well on it.
I think I'll be one of the 2, but I doubt I would be, but I hope I will be.
A very tricky short corner part, and I think that will be quite hectic once people get moving there.
There's a series of S's on the sort of the far side of the track. I think that's the real danger spots where I've been crashing most.
It's very challenging again. It's a lot quicker, a lot faster circuit.
There's a few guys in there today who are quite on a level with myself.
They do actually look good and confident.
They're all very good.
The higher level of competitors.
There's this guy, Iceman, he seems pretty good.
I'm sure the standard should be a lot higher.
It require a bit more pace this time, yeah. No crawling around. It's just flat out all the way. If it come off, that's it.
The pedal to the metal.
They're all good and I'm not, so.
Now earlier you would have seen Alex dressed in his snorkel and flippers, so by now you've got the impression that this racing circuit has quite a lot of water either in the middle of it or around it. Now earlier on I made the lake over in the middle, which I'm quite pleased with. So now what I'd like to do is to go a stage further, add a bit more of the water around the edges of the circuit to give it that finishing touch. This time what I'm going to do is use the materials that I used before, but also show you what else is available. I'm going to be using polythene. In this case it's quite heavy gauge polythene. And the main reason I've selected that is because it doesn't lie completely flat. There are some ripples in it, and it does look like moving water. There are some alternatives, and one of which would be this acrylic sheet that you can use. This is great for water that's mainly lying still in small areas. So a lakeland lake would look fantastic, no problems at all, but not really convincing as fast-flowing water or the sea. You can also buy modelling products. These are quite expensive, but they do look really, really good, and we'll be using those at some stage in this series. But for now, what I'm going to do is use the polythene. I've already started to lay some of it out, and now I'm going to sort out the rest of it and cut it to shape. So we're going to add some colour now, and the way I'm going to do that is by using gloss paint. Gloss because it's shiny and is going to give that water effect, and that will contrast against the green boards and will convince us that it actually is realistic water. What I'm going to use, some of the green paint that I've got left over from earlier. I'm going to mix that in with the blue because water isn't always blue. Now, I've been to Canada and I know over there the water's lovely, but it isn't pure blue. And also, we're going to use some white paint to make another shade so that altogether, when we work from the outwards going in, we've got deep water being shown by a mixture of green and blue. And as we go into the middle section, it's more blue. And then towards the shore, a mixture of white and blue together gives us the effect that the water's gone shallow. And that then, overall, is more convincing. All I'm doing now is going along that blend line, making sure that the two colours do merge together. We don't want to see any straight lines. There are no straight lines in nature whatsoever. So vary it and also make it conform to the shape of the shoreline. What I can do now is, while it's drying, I can recreate the beach by using sawdust, our old favourite. And the reason I've chosen this rather than sand is because it's got a richer colour and it won't cause any damage to the cars if sawdust gets into them. To give the finishing touches to my shoreline, now I'm going to emphasise the movement of the water as it breaks against the rocks and it rolls gently into shore. And to do that, I'm going to use some white gloss paint. And all I'm going to do is take a small paintbrush and just paint in little bits of white. That's it, I've added the finishing touches, and I think it looks pretty good now. But maybe also it represents another hazard on the track, add a bit more interest into the races that Alex and I have. So what are the chances of him needing those snorkel and goggles and the rest of that kit to retrieve his car from the deep blue depths?
In the days when slot was born, it was a golden age for motorsport, with drivers like Moss, Fangio, Hawthorne and Collins. And today on Short Circuits, we're going to be driving the cars from that era. So, out of respect to those cars and those drivers, we're going to be staging a traditional Le Mans style start. Unlike today's millionaire superstars, the Grand Prix drivers of the 50s and 60s also took part in sports car races. Epic challenges of endurance fought out on the public roads of Europe and the Americas, in machinery ranging from purpose-built racers to lightly modified road cars. Preeminent among these drivers was Stirling Moss. And fingers crossed the spirit of Stirling will be with me as I race John in a 1950s sports car. Hey, John, 50s sports cars, eh? Come on!
And 50s gear, mate, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think?
Stunning.
I don't look ridiculous, do I?
No, the helmet looks familiar, though. Where'd you nick that from?
Stirling Moss's. Yeah, he actually wore this. I'm quite hoping that some of that kind of driving talent will rub off, but let's not hold our breath, say.
No. Well, the thing is, he was never a world champion, was he, unfortunately?
He wasn't, but one of the greats. Anyway, what are we driving today? Well,
we've got these old cars here, look, older than me.
Oh, the Porsche 356. Fantastic. How does this differ, then, to a normal slot car?
In a number of ways. Chiefly, if you turn it upside down as we do normally, have a quick compare. We've got a much smaller rear wheel, much narrower.
OK, yeah.
And in this case, we've got NC1 motors fitted.
What does that mean?
So basically it means it's a very, very low-powered motor. Quite appropriate, really, because these cars, they are supposed to be old-fashioned. So certainly in slot terms, these are really difficult to handle and to control. You'll see lots of tails sliding with these as they go around the curves. Very difficult to keep them on, so I'm a bit worried about you in this next race coming up.
So basically, if you hadn't got much experience like me, probably the worst kind of cars to start with?
Perhaps in some ways, yeah, absolutely. But there's no magnet fitted to these cars, and, you know, you've been used to driving magnet cars. Therein is the real point about slot racing. Do you race without or with magnets? Right then, Alex, fancy a quick lap round practice? Get you used to the cars.
Let's go.
Nice and steady to begin with, though, right?
Yeah.
No racing off like you do.
You don't have to pull the trigger
No,
much
a
on.
little tiny bit of pressure and off they go.
Woo.
See how your car swerved? That was a warning. Do it again this time, you'll be off into the gravel. You got away with it again there. You are on your fourth life now, but you're still on the track. Oh,
Yep.
and your luck just run out. I'm going to take no mercy with you because it's time now for our race.
OK, let me just get that back on there. Good. I know how to take that one really quick now. I'm going to try and adopt a Sterling Moss style. Very light-fingered.
And no hair.
Light hands, no hair. Yeah. OK. You call it.
Go.
OK, good.
You rolled there, then.
Keep going, yeah.
Those curves are a bit nasty there. And obviously our lad's not going to have to race with...
I think there
these
might
type
be
of cars.
a bit of cat litter in my slot. Just on that corner there, I seem to be coming out quite
Well,
a bit.
any excuses, I do come up to lap you for the first time. Eh? It's just about keeping it in, mate. And you were doing that in practice, so why are you coming off now?
No, but it's the adrenaline of racing, isn't it, that's causing me to go to pieces.
I showed you before how to use your throttle to keep the nose dipping down. Constantly on and off.
You kind of briefly mentioned it. You didn't exactly wait until I got the hang of it, did you?
I think this is the last lap now.
Is it?
Yeah.
I don't feel like I've done as many as you.
No, you haven't, no.
And I can't.
Here we are. The crowd are going mad. They're going wild. Our sword crosses the line. Where are you, Alex? On your roof.
Upside down. Luckily, I've got that rollover bar. So nobody was injured, thank goodness.
Well, we've got to check the figure inside. I mean, you know, do we need the ambulance? Who knows?
I know, but I can't. I can just make me look silly, don't you?
No, I haven't done that. You've done that yourself, mate, honestly. Seriously.
I wanted a magnet in mine.
Well, they've talked you into wearing all this kit. You know, they've put you out here.
They're all laughing at me, John.
Well, yeah,
they're all laughing at me. You're laughing at me. They're laughing at me.
They knew you were going to come last. Honestly, no training, you know.
I think I want to go home now.
I would. I'd go if I was you.
Obviously, I'm feeling a little bit depressed at the moment. John's just beat me again. Made me look stupid. Hang on a minute. I finished second. Join us after the break when we'll find out which of our slot jockeys gets a top 2 finish and guarantees themselves a place in the short circuit's final. Behind these doors, our 6 slot racers are getting their first chance to practice on the Montreal track. It sounds like they're having a few problems. Yes, Montreal is proving to be the trickiest of tracks as our drivers make their final preparations before the qualifying session. The drivers will race each lane in turn and win points according to their overall performance. At the end of the session, choice of lane for today's semi-final goes in order of position in the rankings. Lane advantage is all important in slot racing, so it's absolutely essential to perform well in qualifying to avoid the difficult outer lanes. As you'd expect in a semi-final, the standard of racing is very high. The tension grows in the early heats and technical problems add to the drama in one of our closest ever qualifying sessions. Everybody seems to be in with a shout. Eve has come off a couple of times. He's having problems identifying his car. It's a very similar colour to the car in the lane next to his. And also one of the controls has just gone down. So I think all the drivers are feeling the tension a little bit. And I think that this could be a very close one to call. After a while, Montreal brings out the best in our 6 slot jockeys. True talent begins to shine through. And in heats 3, 4 and 5, a combination of experience and brash youth creates a gap between 3 of our racers and the rest of the field. Skip is on pole position, Daz is in second, Richard in third. But if we look further down the field, that's where the action's going to be in this last race, because Pete, Tom and Eve are pretty much neck and neck. Now, a good result for one of these drivers could mean the difference between a good lane and a bad lane. Against all the odds, it's 12-year-old Tom who keeps a cool head to claim 4th place on the starting grid. The drivers have gone off now for a break before the start of the actual race. And so I thought I'd have a quick look round at some of John's modelling. And the stuff we did earlier on today with the St. Lawrence River, absolutely fantastic. But it's a little bit boring. It doesn't really sort of tell a story, it doesn't give you the sense of place. So what I thought I'd do is I'd get like a Coast Guard boat, because obviously this is going to be a conduit for smugglers into Canada. So they're on there, they go, "Hey, you, get away from the boat, you're smuggling, you, get out of our waters, you, or we'll shoot." And like, obviously the smugglers are really kind of scared. So one of them jumps over the edge of the boat and splashes into the water. packed full of diamonds, swims for the shore. He's got a torch in case it's dark, and he gets onto the side of the beach. And obviously, he'll be able to stay incognito because it's a mecca for water sports, isn't it? But he's not counting on the fact that the Canadian Navy have got a secret weapon. They've got jet ski cops, haven't they? And so the jet ski cops jumps out of a bush and then goes, "Wait, come on, we're going to get you. Give us them diamonds, you smugglers," and that. Brilliant, isn't it? I can't wait to see what John thinks. As they prepare for the semi-final, how do we rate our racers? Well, Pete's going to need a miracle to make it to the finish, while Iceman Daz will keep a cool head and a hot set of wheels. Young Tom is the surprise package. Could he upset the big boys? And there's none bigger than Skippy, who knows what it takes to win at the highest level. Boy racer Richard has youth on his side. And Eve is determined to prove that Belgians aren't boring. Anything can happen in our big race finale. Now, John, Montreal in qualifying proved to go according to predictions, really, didn't it? That corner at the end of the start-finish straight claimed a few victims.
Absolutely. I think this is a very fast circuit. We've got a very long straight and then into that vicious left-handed curve that claimed a few.
And then, as we come round here, this sort of endless succession of right, left-hand bends, that's claimed a couple as well.
It has, but I think they've now got into their rhythm, and that's what it's about with slot racing, is getting into the groove, getting used to the surface, and with less experienced drivers, that section would cause a problem. But these guys are very good, and they know that they can get through there safely.
OK, so where are the other danger spots that we're going to see some action during the race?
Well, funnily enough, those S's you just described present the next problem to our racers. As they exit those, they're feeling good, they reckon they're out of danger. And this area here, which tightens up into a nice tight right then a left-hander, is going to claim a few victims. Also, there's that S just before you start to enter the final curve, and it's a bit of a nightmare for them. They can't see it clearly, it's not visible to them, and it's going to...
The old blind spot thing where you can't see where you're going, you don't know exactly where you're going to brake, and it's easy to misjudge it.
That's right.
Now, what has surprised me is that the drivers who've done well and got the first pick of the lanes didn't go for the classic sort of choice. They didn't go for the 3 and 4, the middle lanes. Why is that?
I think what's happened there, these people now are more intelligent in terms of slot racing. They know the crack, they're experienced racers, and they're looking to see where the power is good and where it's poor. So on a track that's built to this standard, they're getting the feel for the track during qualifying and making a decision. The Iceman, he knows the score. He's going to pick the lane that gives him the smoothest power throughout the circuit to keep him under control, keep his car on the track. He's confident.
So I think it's going to be very difficult to call. I mean, you've gone for Daz, I've gone for Skippy. I still think Skippy's going to come through, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. But I tell you what, I can't wait till this race is finished.
Why?
Well, you know what happens at Montreal after the race, don't you?
No.
Well, all the mechanics go for a swim. They have a competition across that lake.
Do they?
It's me and you, mate. Get your swimming kit on.
All right, I'll go and get my trunks. 6 slot jockeys about to face each other in today's semi-final. The race is over 10 laps and it's crash and burn. Finish first or second and you're through to the final. In the bottom 4, we'll show you the door. And they're off. And it's a fantastic start from Richard. Richard straight into the lead, not far from Tom in the blue car, and Skippy in the red car. And Skippy now in the lead. Oh dear, Pete hasn't completed a single lap. And lap 2, oh, look at that, sideways there from Eve. He's finding this pace very hot. Can he keep up with these guys? They're shooting into the lead. And now it's Skippy in the red car from Richard in the white car. And the Iceman just tucked in behind them, waiting to pounce. Tom there, very comfortable in 4th place. And these 3 guys are really hammering home their advantage. Oh no, Eve! I said that he found a problem with his pace, and sure enough, it's ended in the gravel. It's a long way back to Belgium for Eve. Well, Skippy there in the red car, still dominant, but I get the impression that Daz the Iceman isn't letting him get too far ahead there. Richard now in the white, starting to drop back a little. Still in a creditable 3rd place and ready to pounce if either of the other 2 drivers experience problems. But as I say that, It's obvious to me that he's catching them up. He's really putting the hammer down now. The two guys thought they got the race themselves, but now Richard, look, he's mixing it. Oh my Lord, he nearly came out there. He's really going for it. Oh, lucky escape, Richard. And what's going to happen? Is he going to catch Skippy? Will they get in on terms with Daz? Oh, Tom, unfortunately. Oh, is he in the way? Is he going to block the track? No, I think they've got through, and now Daz really hammers home his advantage. He's now 20 car lengths ahead of the other two drivers. Oh my Lord, 2 corners from the end, the last lap. Richard has gone sideways, Skippy has gone sideways, but Richard has got into second place behind Daz. He's going to the final! The Iceman, what a winner! And a great second place drive there from Richard. Let's just look at a replay. Lap 8, and Richard nearly loses it, but somehow kept it in. Unfortunately, Tom didn't. And then the last lap, sideways, both cars, but it's only Richard that comes through and makes it to the final. What an amazing race! Darren, the Iceman, cool as a cucumber. Did it go according to plan?
It did, yeah. I held back at the start, picked my moment, overtook, took the victory.
Skipper, you were leading at the beginning. Then you let Iceman through, and then what happened on nearly the last corner?
It was amazing. We both made the same mistake. My car come out, Richard's car stayed in.
Come on, you flapped. You crumbled.
I tried to push it, but I pushed it too far.
And you pushed him all the way, Richard. What a fantastic performance. You couldn't keep it on the track in qualifying, and then you were right there, right to the end in the final. What happened?
Oh, 3 laps to go. I was behind and I knew I had to push it. I kept my cool. Went up to him. I must have put him under pressure and he cracked. Nothing I can say.
Yeah, fantastic. Can't wait to see these two guys in the final. What a prospect. John, what an absolutely fantastic final race. I'll tell you what, if all the semis are as good as this one, we're in for a hell of a final.
Oh, should be awesome, shouldn't it? That's a really tight race, very exciting, great to watch.
And you got the prediction right.
I did,
Nice,
so that's,
man.
you know, yeah. We'll pick the winner again, that's another £10 you owe me.
Hang on a minute, my prediction, Skip, he did very well. Threw it all the way a couple of corners from the end.
Yeah, he did. I mean, to give him credit, he kept going. He wanted to come second. He wasn't going to settle for third. But Richard, what about him? Brilliant.
I didn't think he was going to keep it on the track at all. He proved everybody wrong.
I think so. Great race.
Yeah. OK, well, we'll see you all next time on Short Circuits for a cracking semi-final. Well done, lads.
They're off to Desolation Valley after the break, a bleak and deserted location with barely a soul in sight, apart from Alex, of course, and maybe his mum popping in to serve the tea.